Old Mr. Little wasn't too happy at first with the idea of changing what he was reading. He didn't really like fiction and only read heavy reviews every month. But Bingo managed to get him to read the first chapter of All for Love before Mr. Little knew what was happening. After that, there was no stopping. They had finished A Red Summer Rose, Madcap Myrtle, and Only a Factory Girl, and were halfway through The Courtship of Lord Strathmorlick. Bingo told me all this in a tired voice while drinking an egg mixed with sherry. The dinners made by Mr. Little's cook were amazing. Bingo almost cried when he talked about the clear soup. After weeks of eating only macaroons and drinking lemonade, it must have felt like heaven. Mr. Little couldn't eat much at these dinners, but Bingo said he still came to the table, ate some soft food like arrowroot, and smelled the dishes. So I guess he was enjoying himself too. Anyway, everything seemed to be going well, and Bingo told me he had an idea that would make everything perfect. He didn't tell me what the idea was, but he said it was great. "We are making progress, Jeeves," I said. "That's very good, sir," Jeeves replied. Bingo told me that when he read the big scene in Only a Factory Girl, his uncle almost cried. "Really, sir?" "Yes. When Lord Claude takes the girl in his arms and says, 'I know the scene, sir.' It is very touching. My aunt loved that part. I think we're doing well." "It seems so, sir. In fact, this looks like another success for you, Jeeves. I've always said you have the best brain. All the other smart people are just watching you go by." "Thank you, sir. I try to do my best." About a week later, Bingo came with the news that his uncle's gout was better, and tomorrow he would be eating with a knife and fork again like before. "And by the way," Bingo said, "he wants you to have lunch with him tomorrow." "Me? Why me? He doesn't know who I am." "Oh yes, he does. I've told him about you." "What did you tell him?" "Oh, different things. Anyway, he wants to meet you. And trust me, you should go. I think lunch tomorrow will be something special." I don't know why, but even then I thought there was something strange about Bingo's behavior. He looked like he had a secret plan. "There's more to this than it seems," I said. "Why would your uncle invite someone to lunch he's never met?" "My dear friend, didn't I just say I've been telling him all about you? That you're my best friend, we went to school together, and all that. But still, why are you so eager for me to go?" I asked. Bingo paused for a moment. "Well, I told you I had an idea. This is it. I want you to tell him the news. I don't have the courage to do it myself." "What? No way I'm doing that. And you call yourself my friend." "Yes, I know I'm your friend. But there are limits," I said. "Birdie," Bingo said, looking upset, "I saved your life once." "When? Didn't I?" "Maybe it was someone else then. Anyway, we were boys together, and you can't let me down." "Oh, fine," I said. "But when you say you don't have the courage to do this, you're wrong. A person who—" "Great," said Bingo. "Tomorrow at 1:30. Don't be late." The more I thought about the lunch, the less I liked the idea. Bingo said I would get an amazing meal, but what's the point of a great lunch if you get kicked out of the house before the soup is even served? Still, a Wooster keeps his promises, so at 1:30 the next day, I walked up the steps of number 16, Pounced by Gardens, and rang the bell. Half a minute later, I was in the living room, shaking hands with the fattest man I had ever seen in my life. It seemed like the little family believed in variety. Bingo was tall and thin and had never had an extra ounce on him since we met. But his uncle balanced things out and then some. The hand that grabbed mine was so big it wrapped all the way around my hand. I wondered if I'd ever get it back without some digging tools. Mr. Wooster, I'm very happy. I'm proud. I'm honored to meet you, he said. It looked like Bingo had really told him some good things about me. Oh, thanks, I said. He stepped back a little but still held my hand. You are very young to have done so much. I didn't understand what he was talking about. My family, especially Aunt Agatha, has always said that my life is wasted and that the last important thing I did was win a school prize for collecting wildflowers during summer vacation. I was starting to think he had confused me with someone else when the phone rang in the hallway. The maid came in and said someone wanted to talk to me. I went down and found out it was Bingo. Hello, said Bingo. You're there? Good man. I knew I could count on you. Did my uncle seem happy to see you? He's all over me. I don't get it. Oh, that's fine. I called to explain. The thing is, old friend, I hope you don't mind, but I told him you're the author of those books I've been reading to him. What? Yep. I told him Rosie M. Banks is your pen name, and that you don't want people to know because you're a shy, quiet person. Now he'll listen to every word you say. Pretty smart, right? Even Jeeves couldn't have come up with a better idea. Just make sure to push the point that I need my allowance raised. I can't get married with what I have now. If I want this story to end with a happy embrace, I need double the money. Well, that's it. Goodbye. And he hung up. Just then, the gong rang for lunch, and my cheerful host came down the stairs like a ton of bricks. I always remember that lunch with a feeling of deep regret. It was the best lunch of my life, but I couldn't enjoy it. I knew it was something special, but I was so nervous about the awful situation Bingo had put me in that I couldn't focus. Most of the time, it felt like I was eating sawdust. Mr. Little started talking about books right away. My nephew probably told you that I've been studying your books closely? He began. Yes, he mentioned it. So, how did you like them? He looked at me with admiration. Mr. Wooster, I'm not ashamed to say that I had tears in my eyes as I listened to them. It amazes me that someone as young as you can understand people so deeply. You know how to touch the hearts of your readers. Your books are so true, so real, so emotional, and so full of life. Oh, it's just a little skill I have, I said. By this time, I was sweating a lot. I don't remember ever feeling so nervous. Do you find the room a bit warm? He asked. "Oh, no, it's perfect," I said. "Then it must be the pepper. If my cook has any fault, which I don't really think she does, it's that she sometimes adds a little too much pepper. By the way, do you like her cooking?" I was so happy we were no longer talking about books that I quickly shouted, "Yes, it's amazing. I'm very glad to hear that, Mr. Wooster. I may be biased, but I believe she's a genius." "Absolutely," I agreed. "She's been with me for 7 years, and in all that time, she's never made a mistake, except once, in the winter of 1917. A very picky person might say that one of her mayonnaise dishes wasn't creamy enough. But we have to be fair. There were a lot of air raids happening at that time, and she was probably very nervous. But nothing is perfect in this world, Mr. Wooster, and I've had my worries. For 7 years, I've been afraid that someone might try to take her away from me. I know for sure that she's had offers, very good offers, to work somewhere else. You can imagine how upset I was, Mr. Wooster, when this morning she quit. "Good Lord," I said. "Your shock does you credit as the author of a red summer rose. But I'm happy to say the worst didn't happen. The problem has been solved. Jane is not leaving me." "That's great news. Great news indeed, although the phrase is new to me. I don't remember seeing it in your books. Speaking of your books, may I say that what has impressed me most, even more than the moving stories, is your philosophy of life. If more men were like you, Mr. Wooster, London would be a better place." This was the complete opposite of what my Aunt Agatha thought. She always believed that people like me were the reason London had problems. But I let it go. "Mr. Wooster, I admire your strong stand against the old, blind traditions of our society. I admire it. You understand that social rank is just a label. And as Lord Bletchmore said in Only a Factory Girl, no matter how humble her background, a good woman is the equal of any fine lady." I sat up straight. "Really? Do you believe that?" I asked. "I do, Mr. Wooster. I must admit that, like many others, I once believed in the silly idea of class distinctions. But after reading your books, I should have known. Jeeves had done it again. So, you think it's okay for a man from a higher class to marry a woman from a lower class?" "I certainly do, Mr. Wooster." I took a deep breath and gave him the big news. "Your nephew Bingo wants to marry a waitress," I said. "I respect him for it," said Mr. Little. "You don't mind?" "Not at all. I support him." I took another deep breath and moved to the tricky part. "I hope you don't think I'm interfering, but, what about his allowance? The money you kindly give him. He was hoping you might consider increasing it a bit." Mr. Little shook his head sadly. "I'm afraid I can't do that. You see, a man in my position has to save every penny. I'm happy to keep giving him his current allowance, but I can't give him more. It wouldn't be fair to my future wife." "What? But you're not married." "Not yet, but I plan to be very soon. The lady who has cooked so well for me over the years agreed to marry me this morning. A cold look of triumph appeared in his eyes. Now let anyone try to take her away from me, he said proudly. Young Mr. Little has been trying to call you on the phone many times this afternoon, sir, said Jeeves that night when I got home. I bet he has, I said. I had sent poor Bingo a note about the situation by messenger boy right after lunch. He seemed a little upset. I'm not surprised. Jeeves, I said, get ready for bad news. That plan of yours, reading those books to Mr. Little and everything, has backfired. They didn't soften him? Oh, they did. That's the problem. Jeeves, I'm sorry to tell you, but your fiancée, Miss Watson, the cook, well, she's chosen money over love, if you get what I mean. Sir, she's broken up with you and got engaged to Mr. Little. Really, sir? You don't seem too upset. The truth is, sir, I expected something like this to happen. I stared at him. Then why did you suggest the plan? To be honest, sir, I didn't mind ending my engagement with Miss Watson. In fact, I really wanted it. I respect Miss Watson very much, but I've known for a while that we aren't right for each other. Now, the other young woman I'm interested in. Great Scott, Jeeves. There's another one. Yes, sir. How long has this been going on? For a few weeks, sir. I was very attracted to her when I first met her at a dance in Camberwell. My goodness. Not. Jeeves nodded seriously. Yes, sir. By a strange coincidence. She's the same young woman that Mr. Little. I have placed the cigarettes on the small table. Good night, sir.